What's going on, guys? Matt Cross from MGC Media here, and today we're talking about something that I did very early on in my career and something that I believe everybody should do if they want to get into videography, and that is sports. I truly believe that shooting sports is one of the best ways to hone your skills because it takes basic decisions such as lighting, audio, composition, and forces you to make them on the fly. When I first decided that I wanted to get into this industry, the first thing that I did was I volunteered at Rogers TV, and this is where I learned the absolute bare basics of cinematography. We're talking finding your focus, talk room, headroom, the absolute bare basics, but some of the most important stuff that you need to know. It also taught me the importance of showing up early to a production because there is nothing that is more detrimental to the final product than rushing the final product. Another thing that it taught me was organization. When I was working there, every little cable was perfectly labeled and had its own spot. Every tripod had a place where it would go, and it was just like a really intricate dance. And I would love to tell you that these are all skills that I use to this day, but my gear bag is a mess. It is what it is. If you are looking for a photographer or videographer, MGC Media offers services for all occasions, so visit mgcmedia.ca to book your shoot today. After I was done with my volunteering gig, I shot countless rugby games for my dad and Rugby Canada, and this only furthered my eye for focus and composition. Fast forward a few years to my second year at Durham College, where I applied as a job as a receptionist at a gym because I was a broke-ass college student, so, why not? And they basically looked at all the video experience on my resume and said, well, you're not qualified to be a receptionist, but do you want to be the videographer for a sports program? And I said, hell yeah. So this was kind of different because whereas before when I was with Rogers TV or shooting rugby games for my dad, we would show up, shoot the game in its entirety, and it was usually just the whole game was recorded or we shot it live, so there wasn't as much editing involved. It was a lot different shooting for the Lords because they would send me to whatever game they needed me at, and of that game, when I was shooting highlights, I had to pick which highlight I thought was the key moment of the game, and then from there, that one clip was the one that I would send to my boss. This was a very good thing to learn because it taught me about making tough creative decisions, which is something that we all have to do at some point. Ideally, I would just send them everything that's on the SD card and they would post every single highlight that I shot, but realistically speaking, they're only posting one highlight per game on social media, so it's my job as the videographer to kind of decide which moment I thought was the key moment of the game and which moment was the play that kind of drove the story of the game further. Another thing that shooting sports taught me was when the best time was to shoot. The thing is with any sporting event is you're there for a good 3 hours at a time, and in those 3 hours, it's not all going to be eventful. So you don't really want to sit there and be recording the entire time because that's just going to fill your SD card full of useless footage. It was very important that I pick and chose when I would shoot and decided when I thought the best moments of the game were going to happen so I could position myself accordingly and get that good shot. So for example, when I was shooting Ridgebacks hockey, which is the other program that I would shoot because they were all affiliated under the kind of the same program because the two schools were right next to each other on campus. For that, I knew the best highlights for that game were going to be when the Ridgebacks would score. So I knew to stand on the end that the Ridgebacks were trying to shoot on. And that way I was able to put myself in the best position possible when eventually they would score, and this worked really well. I was able to get a ton of highlights of the Ridgebacks scoring. Another thing that was important to remember was having the clips sent at a certain time, which the lesson that I learned there is kind of self-explanatory. In this industry, there's going to be times when client asks you for clips at a certain time and you need to get them at a certain time, and so shooting sports really taught me time management and getting the clips on time. The final thing that shooting sports taught me was to kind of learn from everybody around you. Being the videographer of the team, I wasn't the only shooter there. They had two other team photographers that were there, so that was really good to kind of be able to talk to them. And above all else, you just become friends with those people, and as much as we're all doing what we love, work is still work, so it helps have someone there that you enjoy talking to. It just helps the time pass a little faster. Alright guys, so that's going to be all for this week's video. If you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, be sure to like and follow. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you can be informed every time that I post. I'll be right back here next Sunday with a brand new video, but until then, remember, sometimes bees sting other bees.